Imagine standing inside Africa's largest residential building. Looking down into a 54-story concrete cylinder, where for decades, rumours have spread through its empty apartments. A building once marketed as luxury apartments became known for crime, desperation, abandonment, and stories of people who say they have seen things that cannot be explained. This is the story of Ponte Tower. Welcome back to 14th Avenue Haunting. Good evening, my fellow 14th Avenue residents. Tonight, we are going to talk about the Ponte Tower. If you've ever been in Gauteng and you've been near the Johannesburg area, that Vodacom sign on the Ponte Tower sticks out like a sore thumb. And the history is kind of very interesting about how the Ponte Tower came about, why it's built the way it is. So I'm very excited to get into that, and of course, the haunting. But before we do that, if you are new here, I'm 14th Avenue Haunting. On my channel, we discuss ghost stories, true crime, history, and tragic events. And if this is something that you're into, please subscribe to my channel. And if you would like early access to my videos, please consider becoming a member of 14th Avenue Haunting. 14th Avenue Haunting does not claim that any of the ghost stories in my videos are absolute fact. These are based off of eyewitness accounts, local law, newspaper articles, and are intended for entertainment purposes only. And then I know I normally wear like black to blend in with the background and just, make it more aesthetically pleasing. But this week is freaking cold, you guys. So I'm sorry. Excuse me for this week. Next week, I'll go back to the basics, but it's really cold. I actually saw a guy on TikTok say, and I've done this myself in the past few months during winter, say that he apologizes for saying that we haven't had, this winter wasn't as cold. And he's sorry because now look at this week. And I was like, oh, that's so true, because I was also like, it wasn't a cold winter this winter. So I'm really concerned about what our summer is going to look like. And then bam, it's super cold. And you know what? My area had no snow. I'm very annoyed because at least if you're going to give us this cold, give us the pleasure of some snow a little bit. We didn't see nothing. We didn't have snow. And I was very excited for, the possibility that we would have had snow, because we don't get that often. But I also want to thank Fatima for requesting this video. Fatima, once again, thank you for your requests. I know there's still a few on your list that you've sent through. I still have my list. I'm still working through it. And to everyone else whose request has come in, but I haven't put out a video, I am getting to your video. I promise I'm getting to your video. But yeah, let's get into the history and the haunting of Ponte Tower. The building that is today known as Ponte Tower was not built to become a nightmare. It was built to be a dream. I'm not sure how to pronounce the area name. I'm so sorry, but it's Berea or Berea. But in 1975 in Berea in Johannesburg, the cornerstone was laid for this luxury apartments that would soon come. It was designed by architect Manfred Hermer and stands at 173 meters tall, making it the tallest residential skyscraper in Africa. And the unusual cylinder shape that it was built in was designed so that each and every person that lived in this tower could get a view of Johannesburg. But when we move to the inside of the cylinder, it is hollow. And the reasoning for that is that back when it was built, they had to have windows in every single room. That was like, an architectural rule. So they built it in a cylinder because in the middle, there was supposed to come in natural sunlight that would obviously go into the windows. So that is why it was designed that way. And originally, it was built as a luxury apartment. So it was built for the high-end side of society back in the 1970s. Penthouses, swimming pools, views over the city, and wealthy residents. Because in the 1970s, Johannesburg was booming. The city was expanding rapidly, and Hillbrow was considered one of the most desirable areas to live in. It was a vibrant neighborhood that had luxury shops, nightlife, restaurants, and high-rise luxury apartments. And then came a building unlike anything anyone in South Africa had ever seen. And Ponte wasn't just meant to be a tall building or an apartment building. It was supposed to be like a city within a city. The idea was that residents would barely have to leave. So it would have shops, entertainment areas, restaurants, parking facilities, communal spaces. Everything was designed around convenience and luxury. And this is the part that people don't, I'm sure not everyone knows about, but the Ponte was actually kind of an exclusive building to live in. And it was in a time when South Africa still had active apartheid. So it was mostly, or I'm sure 100%, only white people living in that tower. However, not long after it was built, at around the 1990s, the Ponte Tower and surrounding areas would decline, and a building that represented luxury in the town started representing its struggles. Because during the 1980s and the 1990s, Johannesburg started changing drastically, and Ponte became associated with crime, poverty, gang association, illegal occupation, and neglect. The building gained a terrible reputation, and one of the most repeated stories is surrounding its core. The massive empty space in the middle of that tube. A lot of the reports are that people actually went and jumped to end their lives. Others say that the remains of those that they ended were thrown in there, and that criminals used the darkness of the building to hide evidence. And it became this way very fast due to Hillbrow becoming overcrowded, which means that maintenance over buildings like Ponte became less and less of a priority. Poor maintenance, security problems, and declining property management. So it ended up being a building that was reportedly filled with criminals, prostitutes, gangs, illegal occupation, and neglected apartments. And the biggest reputation that the Ponte Tower has is being the suicide tower or suicide center. And I've seen like all the videos of the Ponte Tower, people who visit the Ponte Tower. And I think even if you illegally occupied that building, how horrible, like living in those conditions. I'm just kind of imagining how badly that core, like massive rubbish that accumulated would have smelled, because they do claim that people just kind of started throwing their like trash into that big hole. So I can just imagine like what it must have smelled like to live there, which I think is, it's not great for anyone to live in that kind of condition. And while it was in that condition, several movies were also made and filmed around the Ponte Tower. The 1997 Dangerous Grounds movie starring Ice Cube was actually filmed at the Ponte Tower. The 2009 District 9 movie was also filmed at the Ponte Tower. And then also the 2015 movie Chappie. And beyond fiction, many documentaries has been made about the Ponte Tower over the years. But now, what about today? Is the Ponte Tower still a building filled with criminals and decay? Not exactly. The turnaround actually began in the 2000s. The Kempston Group actually became involved to try and rehabilitate the building. In 2001, management changed and they actually started the efforts to make the Ponte Tower inhabitable again. The restoration was not only just cosmetic. Workers had to tackle damaged apartments, old plumbing, electrical systems, elevators, security, and the infamous core. And it is claimed that while they were doing the cleanup of that big hump of trash in the core, they actually found over 20 remains inside of that dump. Can you imagine living there not knowing that there are over 20 remains downstairs just in that pile? How terrifying that must have been. But also the building's 467 apartments were refurbished. New wiring and plumbing installed, and reportedly 8 new elevators were added. The core, the very place that surrounded so many terrifying stories, were actually cleared out. And after years of being associated with such a dangerous building, the Ponte Tower started making a turnaround. And today, it is once again a residential apartment building. It still stands at 54 stories and is still today one of South Africa's most recognizable landmarks. The building now has residential apartments, improved security, controlled access, renovated units, and reportedly it also has shops inside, and residents who call Ponte Tower home. But does Ponte Tower still have that bad reputation? Unfortunately, I would say yes. Even though it went through a remarkable rehabilitation and renovation, it still has kind of that dangerous feel. And I would suspect that it would take years, maybe generations, to lose that kind of reputation. But people who live there today experience a completely different building. And that contrast is what makes Ponte Tower fascinating. A building can carry a reputation for decades, even after the physical place has changed. But, of course, even after generations of changes in one building, the Ponte Tower has more than just a very dangerous reputation. It has a ghostly one. Let's talk about the first ghostly encounters that people have claimed who have stayed in the Ponte Tower. Former residents have claimed to hear voices, footsteps, movement in abandoned units, some claim to see shadows darting on staircases and empty corridors where there shouldn't be anyone. The older elevators seemingly move by itself. And because of the enormity of the core, that hollow part in the Ponte Tower, people have claimed to feel watched, uneasy, overwhelmed by the atmosphere. But probably the most disturbing ghost story surrounding the Ponte Tower would be that people hear the sound of someone screaming as they fall down into the core. This is believed to be the ghost of So many people who have chosen to end their life at Ponte Tower. Now, normally at this part, I would have does the history match the haunting? But you know what, guys? With this one, it's a pretty standard haunting for an apartment building with a reputation like it does have. So I'm not going to go into that section or that details too much. We know it has the reputation of people ending their lives, and it does match with what people claim to hear, that the voices of those who have passed away there, scream as they go down into the core. So I think, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I don't have anything to add in this video, particularly on whether the haunting matches the history. But is the Ponte Tower really haunted? Could it possibly be that years of going from luxury apartments to one of the most dangerous landmarks in South Africa back to affordable, inhabitable 54-story building has no choice but to attract ghost stories? Or is it that perhaps in a place that has seen turmoil, negativity, violence, has no choice but to be haunted? And that's it. That's the Ponte Tower. I've driven past that tower so many times, and I've actually wanted to go in ever since I saw that it is like a cylinder. It's not a complete building. Well, it's complete, but you know what I mean. It's not a solid building. It's a cylinder. So I actually really have wanted to go in there. I don't know if I ever will, especially not by myself. I know that it's a lot safer today, which you see that reputation of the past, it lingers in your mind, even though they've taken steps to make sure that Ponte Tower is safer. Your mind is still like ringing bells that maybe it's not. So yeah, I think that reputation for that building is going to last for generations. Maybe our kids' won't be so scared of the Ponte Tower anymore. But I found it kind of interesting that there was ghost stories surrounding the Ponte Tower. I don't know why, but the hauntings kind of surprised me. I didn't expect that I would actually find haunting stories surrounding the Ponte Tower. So that was actually really cool. So thank you once again, Fatima, for requesting this video. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's it. That's my video, guys. Short this week, but you don't want to beat a dead horse when you've given the information and it's out there, and that's it. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please let me know what I can cover next. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you in the next one. Have a spooky day.